What happened with Bert? Should we have had some more warnings? And what's the weather got in store for the rest of this week?
Hello and welcome to Square Raindrop. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steph Golter.
And really it's been Bert all the way, hasn't it, Steffi?
Yes, but whereas we've been interested to see what's happening with Bert and following the winds and following the snow and following the rain, some people have had it a lot worse, of course. You've seen those pictures from Wales and parts of Worcestershire. Oh, my goodness.
Well, the pictures were certainly, pretty devastating. But in the run-up to Bert arriving, first of all, we knew it was going to be big. It was one of these things they call a weather bomb, explosive cyclogenesis, 24 millibar drop in 24 hours. So we knew it was going to be a deep centred low. And we knew also that it was running into that very cold air. So with that, we got a myriad of problems before we even started.
That's right. We knew it was going to be a multi-hazard event. So we knew there was going to be a lot of heavy snow on the leading edge, and they were talking about that snow being wet and claggy and grabbing onto branches, bringing down power lines, that sort of thing. We knew it was going to be disruptive in that way. I think the problem with Bert is that trailing front that it had. It just laid over the same part of England and Wales for such a prolonged period of time that rather than seeing a period of heavy rain, which would have caused problems, but moved away, it just stayed there. I mean, I saw one report from Dartmoor saying somewhere it had 193 millimetres of rain. That is a staggering amount of rain. London has about 620 in a year. I mean, okay, Dartmoor is a wetter part of the country than London, but even so, it goes to show just how much rain there was.
You mentioned it was a multi-hazard system, and of course it was. But the minute you say snow, everybody focuses on that. There's going to be snow, and over the higher elevations, it was going to be about 40 centimeters. That's an awful lot of snow, blizzard conditions, and drifting. So even though we then went on to say, and some parts of the west will have more than a month's worth of rainfall, and the winds will be gusting, up to 70 miles per hour. In fact, I think we had 82 at Capel Curig. But those winds, they weren't even just focused on the west; they were pretty much countrywide. It was a very, very windy day.
Yes, and you're right. There is a focus that goes towards certain things. So snow, that was one, but also some media in the morning where we knew Wales was going to get severely hit by this flooding. Some media outlets were saying, oh, look, 17 degrees. Let's do a piece on how mild it is. Like, no, they're going to flood. They're going to flood.
I know. Never mind the temperature. It was a very interesting system from that point of view, because we literally went from, I think it was -12 over parts of Scotland first thing in the morning. And at the same time, southwestern Ireland had got temperatures of 15 and 16. So you've got this massive temperature stretch. You've got the snow coming down and blowing around in those strong winds. And then you've got this sneaky rain right behind it, giving these flooding situations across parts of Wales and then later on parts of the southwest. And a lot of the flood warnings, even today, were for central southern England. And of course, we all also focused on Bert being a Saturday event, whereas in fact, as you said, that trailing front on Sunday gave some of the most damaging rainfall that we could have.
And I think that was part of the problem as well, because on Saturday, people went, Storm Bert's here. Oh, that was nothing. That's because your bit hasn't got to you yet. That might be why. So yeah, it was a whole myriad of reasons why. I mean, a week before, I remember saying, there's this big low pressure coming for next weekend. It's not like we didn't know it was coming. It just somehow the message seems to get a bit lost in the whole noise.
And there's also this perpetual situation or conversation over the warnings. The warnings this time were actually incredibly accurate. There were an awful lot of them. And of course, as I said, they were also very varied. But sometimes we have some wet and windy weather and everybody goes, oh, why are we having warnings for this? It's wet and windy, get over yourself. It's autumn, give us a break. And then this time everybody's saying, why weren't we warned? Nobody said anything. It's like, well, we did. And I had a look on some of the phone apps because they have the warnings on them too, or they do if you go looking for them, and certainly on the Met Office. So the information was there. People were either just choosing not to see it, or we didn't give it enough coverage.
I also think there is a problem with weather now on air. All the news channels, they are laying off their weather presenters. So whereas before the weather presenters were sitting there in the morning next to the newsreader and interjecting, now that doesn't happen. It's all cost cutting. So there's a lot of other things. If you dig deep, the warnings were there. They didn't get to the people. Maybe why didn't they get to the people? People are getting their news in different ways now. Maybe it should have been more on the front cover of, I don't know, the Daily Mail website, the Guardian website, all of them. Whereas I guess it was just buried and you only had to dig to find it, and people didn't know to dig.
Well, you mentioned the front pages of the newspapers, but of course, every time the newspapers do publish an article, somebody not too far away from me right at this second does like to put them right, because they do tend to publish some really extraordinary stuff. 140-mile line of snow on the way.
Oh, I think you forgot to say the exact time that the 140-mile length of snow will hit us. I mean, what they put in newspapers these days, particularly, and I am going to name them, Birmingham Live and The Express, what they put is a disgrace. It's not true, it's not accurate, and they know it. So they put this stuff out, oh, there's going to be 150 miles, and then people go, meh, no, there isn't. So when there actually is a problem with the weather, nobody listens.
Isn't there a story about that called Cry Wolf or some such?
Oh, there is. I tell my children many a time, as they say, but I didn't have a sweetie. Mm-hmm.
Let's rename that story as Cry Bert instead.
Cry Bert, that's brilliant. Did you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people have said Bert's a great name. Other people have said it's an absolutely terrible name. Did you know, though, you can suggest a name to the Met Office? So it's the Met Office, Ireland and the Dutch. We're all together and we come up with a load of names, and those are the names alphabetical for our storms for the year. But you can suggest them. Nobody knows this. So if you email in name our storms at metoffice.gov.uk, you can suggest a name. I mean, they might ignore you. That's not the point. But you can suggest one. So I might say, how about Joe? We should have a Storm Joe.
Because you can't have a nice storm.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could just name people you don't like. So, okay, no Storm Joe, but I'll keep my thoughts to myself at this point.
Go for that. Whilst we're on the subject of names, of course, the snow meant that the Scottish Gritters were out, and there is a website where you can track them. They've got all those wonderful names they've got for their gritters.
They do, and I wish you'd not sprung this on me, because I wish I had some to hand, because they are amazing. We'll have to put some in the chat underneath this little YouTube video.
Could well be that we'll see a few snow showers over the northern parts over the next few days or so. So, yeah, we can trot out the spreaders again. So what exactly have we got in store for this week? Because there is some more rain to come.
Yeah, and the rain is coming just when we don't need it, where we don't need it. So it's coming up from the southwest, South Wales, and then going over the central part of, the southern half, really, of England, and then up towards the northeast. So that's where we don't need it, and that's where it's going to be. Fortunately, though, Joe, this one is moving through pretty quickly. So yes, it will bring some heavy rain, but it's not going to stick around and be that prolonged event that Bert was.
Now, you notice that I'm letting you say all the information about this week because we've got a little project planned, haven't we?
We do. What's your project, Joe?
Well, you see, it's just about 1 month now until Christmas. And I know how much you hate the long range weather, but I like it. And so we're going to start doing a little square raindrop countdown to Christmas weather check.
You're going to do it. I'm going to pick holes in you as you go. So you'll be saying, I think it's going to be this. And I'll be saying on Christmas Day, Joe didn't forecast this until the 18th or the 19th. Actually, it'll be fascinating to see when the forecast got really accurate. I think it'll be brilliant.
I know, I can't wait. Will there be snow this Christmas? Will we see any snow before Christmas? I mean, there's still 4 weeks to go yet. All the weather details from a square raindrop at all times. If you want your warnings, if you want to know what's going on, if you want to be alert to another Bert, you need to be watching Square Raindrop. We'll see you next time. Keep the questions coming. Remember to like and share.
Alert to Bert. That's our new motto.